So now that most of the major free agent signings and trades have been made, I've decided to make a set of prediction videos starting with the Western Conference. Just to get my early predictions. If I get a few right, that'd be awesome. But also just to see what you guys think. Get your opinions and just share my opinion to the world. So let's get straight into it. I think that the Avalanche will be riding high, especially after winning the Stanley Cup. I think that they'll be competing for a President's Trophy this year, so I have them at first in the Central with 121 points. Okay, and the Minnesota Wild at second in the Central with 110 points. Even though the Minnesota Wild have had a relatively quiet offseason, I believe that players like Kirill Kaprizov will continue to improve, and even though they've lost guys like Kevin Fiala, I think that they'll still do well and get 110 points this season, putting them at second in the Central. Now the Blues. The Blues have lost quite a lot this offseason, and it really hasn't been good for them, but I think they'll still remain a good team, and I think they'll place third in the Central with 104 points and clinch the playoffs. I really like what the Predators have done so far. I think that they'll get fourth in the Central and improve to 102 points, and I think they'll clinch a playoff spot, that number one wild card. Overall, it'll be a really good season for them. Now the Jets. Although the Jets really haven't done much this offseason, it's been pretty quiet for them. I think that with a change of scenery and a new coach will push them a little bit, and I think they'll improve slightly to 95 points at fifth in the Central. Now the Stars. The Stars have lost a lot this offseason. It really hasn't been good for them, and so I think because of that, they'll regress slightly and to sixth in the Central with only 87 points. Now the Blackhawks. I have them at seventh in the Central here with under 60 points. It's clear that they're going full rebuild mode at the moment. They've even traded away guys like Doc, who are beasts for the future for just picks. It's really not looking good for them, and so honestly, I have them regressing a pretty significant amount to 59 points here. Coyotes have been pretty silent, and they're in rebuild mode right now, and so I have them staying pretty similar at around 58 points, last in the Central once again. Overall, I think the Central will stay pretty stagnant as a division. There won't be much movement or significant changes. And other than the Predators making the playoffs and Dallas getting knocked out, I think it'll be a pretty similar picture this year. Now on to the Pacific. At first in the Pacific, I have the Oilers. They improved significantly with players like Evan Bouchard improving and Connor McDavid and Draisaitl continuing to pop off. I think that they'll improve vastly to 117 points, putting them at first in the Pacific. And the Flames. The Flames will regress slightly from last season, but it's nothing to worry about as they'll be once again strong at 114 points in second in the Pacific. Now, although they've lost Johnny Gaudreau and Brady Tkachuk, they gained Mackenzie Weegar and Huberdeau from the trade, and I think they'll remain a strong team, especially that defensive core with Jacob Markstrom and improving it. Now, the Kings. I have them improving slightly to 106 points, remaining third in the Pacific. I think the season will be good for them because they had a decent offseason, and players like Byfield will improve and start coming into the lineup, and I think that this will be an overall good season for them, and pretty solid at third in the Pacific. Now the Golden Knights, once again at fourth in the Pacific, they'll improve to 101 points, clinch that second wild card spot. Now, although they've had a pretty bad offseason so far, I think that they can stay healthy this season and that they'll improve and just barely clinch that last playoff spot to squeak in and play the Avalanche first round. Now the Canucks. Now, although this isn't exactly a good finish this season, I think it's promising as they improve 6 points to 98, stay fifth in the Pacific, but I think it'll be an overall promising season for them as players like Bo Horvat, Elias Pettersson will continue to develop, and it'll be an overall good season for them. Now we have the Ducks at sixth in the Pacific. Although this isn't exactly a good result, it's not pretty. I think it's a very promising season for the Ducks. I have them here improving by 6 points to 82. Players like Troy Terry will continue to develop, and I think that overall this year will be pretty promising and a good start for them. Now we have the Sharks. The Sharks have had a pretty mediocre offseason. They haven't been great, so I have them here at seventh in the Pacific with 80 points, remaining pretty similar to last season. Now the Kraken. The Kraken are obviously rebuilding. They're not trying to be good, and they've traded away strong assets for picks. I have them, once again, pretty low. I have them at 59 points here, near the bottom of the league, 8th in the Pacific. Overall, not a lot of change in the Pacific. A division-wide improvement this year, I think. A lot of teams that are, on the brink of becoming good Vegas improves to make the playoffs once again this year, and overall it's a good year for my video. The Eastern Conference predictions and preview will be in a few days. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like. Share your opinions in the comments down below. What do you think of the predictions? What would you have changed? What are your predictions? What do you think I got wrong? All of that in the comments down below. And that's about it. See ya.